Okay, so let's begin. So we're very happy to have Antonio Romero Medina from University Carlos III de Madrid, who will talk us about daycare enrollment. Yeah, the floor is yours. You have 1 hour. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming here and for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to visit the Game Theory Center. So we're going to talk today. I'm going to talk today about optimizing daycare enrollment, how to avoid early application. And this is a joint paper with Ata Atay from the University of Barcelona and Raquel Carrasco from Universidad Complutense de Madrid. Actually, some of you have seen a previous version of this paper, which is called Complementarities in Daycare Allocation Under Priorities, which encompassed basically the theoretical model. So we're going to have an introduction, presentation of the daycare allocation in Madrid, what are the institutional constraints that we are facing. I'm going to introduce the model and a new algorithm that we are creating that is not that new, which is the adjusted gets to the proposed deferred acceptance, and then we will study the performance of that algorithm. But essentially, this paper is about congestion. So we are going to introduce a daycare allocation problem analogous to the school choice problem, according to the features that we do have in the daycare allocation problem in Spain in general and in Madrid in particular. I'm going to mention some of the features later. And our model will have one characteristic, is that they will treat the allocation for one particular year and the allocation of the priority that to be enrolled in the schools generate as two different and separated objects. And we will, with this expansion of the preference of the individuals, we will consider a particular preference domain in which we will accommodate some complementarities. And this complementarity will be the fact that some individuals would like to be at school, at daycare this year and remain on the following year, and some of the individuals will actually just want to come next year on daycare. But the motto of this paper is essentially congestion. Daycare in Madrid is, and I think everywhere else, is extremely congested. So we claim that with the model that we have found one of the causes of congestion. The main cause of congestion is, of course, the scarcity of daycare positions, but we have found one additional source of congestion, which is the fact that some families are actually anticipating their applications for daycare. Some of them including very early, before kids are even born, and that generates additional congestion. And our mechanism is aimed to actually relax this constraint and allow families to express their preference properly and avoid this additional level of congestion. So I will be more specific into that, but let me show you first how our paper actually fits on the literature. So there are three streams of the literature that has to do with what we're doing here. First, the literature on daycare. Daycare is a dynamic matching problem. And it is a dynamic matching problem because unlike a school choice, you don't have to take your kid to school at a particular date. When the kid has 6 years old or 7 years old, you can choose whether to take your kid to school or not when she is 1 year old, 2 years old, or 3 years old. And there is a literature on that. Ken Smot and Atume-san analyzed this dynamic problem for Denmark. For them, the model is not like ours, because in Denmark, kids are not joining in daycare in cohorts. They just join the group of kids in daycare. So they have no stable strategy proof mechanism. Okumura analyzed the daycare allocation in Yokohama. They do not have a strategy proof mechanism. And Kuno, which is only an empirical paper, shows behavior that Japanese families have, which is going to be of the likes of the one that we are going to analyze today. So some families in Japan, where actually the kids go in cohort, like in a school choice model, they do something of the likes of the things that we are going to analyze, which is the fact that they don't want their kids to go to school, but they do want to have priority for taking their kids to school on the next year. And the way they do it is that there is a priority for kids that have been waitlisted, and those have priority in the next year. So he actually finds that families actually target schools that are in very high demand, so they will be waitlisted, so they will have higher priority for the next period, which is when they want the kids to take to school. So this is daycare allocation. Our model will look more like a school choice problem. And it will look more like a school choice problem because in Spain, daycare runs like school. So it goes on cohorts. There is one allocation mechanism once a year. Although, if there happens to be empty slots, the kid can be admitted to the schools in those empty slots as the year proceeds. Also, given that we are going to disentangle this possibility of going to school this year or having priority for going to school the next year, we will be related to the literature of matching with couples. And actually, our mechanism will be a lot like the Roth and Peterson mechanism for the National Resident Matching Program. Of course, the papers like Klaus and Klein, and Kamada and Kojima are very much alike to the one that we have because they are matching with couples. In the environment that we are going to analyze, in the domain of preference that we are going to analyze, the matching, the environment is very much simplified. So question so far? I've told you nothing, so no question. Okay, so how is the care allocation in Madrid? Specifically in Madrid. So now I'm restraining myself because you're taping this. Daycare allocation in Madrid is a mess. First things first, it's not mandatory in Spain, so you don't have to take your kids to school when they are from 0 to 3 years old. You have the decision. In Madrid, there is about 100,000 kids in that period from 0 to 3. The rates of enrollment, that depends on the availability of positions, is around 20% for kids under 1 year old, like 60% for kids under 2 years old, and 75% for children under 3 years old. So the number of kids increase as they get older. Half of the positions are publicly provided. And the price of those positions was far cheaper than the private allocation a few years ago. Now it's free. So it's no charge on the public provided positions. Also, and that will be important, the groups are smaller for younger kids. And this is because they need more attention. So each group have 2 teachers and 8 kids when they are smaller than 1 year old, 14 kids and 20 kids as they proceed. So groups get higher and higher. So there is a very high competition for very limited slots, especially on the first year. Okay? Question? In total, 92,000. 20% of those, so about 20,000, are in the whole region of Madrid for first-year kids, for 0 to 1. 19,000 kids enroll in daycare.
No, kids, not kids. How many slots?
Slots, total slots. We have around 20,000 for 0 to 1. 92,000 kids are enrolled in this in the total 20,000. And this is the sum of all the kids. So in the third year, I don't know how many there are, around 50,000 or so, and this is 75% of the total demand. So there are around 70,000 kids in a given moment, in a given cohort. So this is a very high demand. So this is really congested. No, unextrapolated the number of kids that you have there. And you are right on that. I mean, many families, they don't want the kids on the first year to actually go to school. You will see. Because they're just too young. And because they have alternative. Spain have a generous paternity and maternity leave, which was 8 years, the time that the data that we have, 8 months, the time that the data that we have, it is 10 months now. So it is a generous paternity leave. So parents can actually be with the kid. Yeah.
When you say 58% of children under 2 enroll, is it 58% of the ones between 1 and 2? Or
Yeah, it's 58% of the one between 1 and 2. That's right. And this is 75% of the one between 2 and 3. And then when they are 4 years old, there's 100% of enrollment. Okay, so yeah. Thank you. So we're all on the same page. Thank you. So how is the current mechanism? Well, the current mechanism is not very good, to say the least, because the regional government assigns seats to two kind of tracks of facility. One are what we will call daycare centers, so we call the escuelas infantiles, but there is another track of daycare centers, which are nursery schools, that have kind of a different regime. They take shorter hours, they don't have a specific curricula, the kids are just there. They're essentially identical, okay? But they are two tracks and they are allocated in differently. This is not the problem that we are gonna worry about. I mean, to have two substituted positions, they can be substituted by the parents. I mean, they might have preference on that, but allocated in two different tracks is kind of, you know, bad design. We have examples, but we essentially don't care about that. So we're gonna consider it's just one common allocation. Students are allocated in cohorts. So a student that was born in a particular calendar year will never compete with a student that is born in another calendar year. That's not gonna happen. You're always gonna compete with your cohort, and that's important. It is based on immediate acceptance. It's actually immediate acceptance, the way that they do it now. And parents apply for slots even before the child is born to increase the chances of getting. Pardon me? Oh, immediate acceptance. Individuals will submit a list of preference. Then the individuals will be allocated. They will apply to the first element on the road, on their preference list, to the first daycare on their preference list. If they get admitted, that's it. And everybody who gets admitted is definitely admitted. So if you do not get admitted on the first preference that you do have, then you will go back to the remaining slots, because all the other individuals have actually been admitted definitely, regardless of their priority. So it might very well be the case that even you might have a higher priority in a school than someone else for the fact that that family actually target better the school, you will not being able to attend that school. So essentially, it is proceeding with all allocations are definitive, step by step. So you apply to one school, to the first one, you get definitely accepted or not. And then if you do not get definitely accepted, you try for the remaining schools and so on and so forth. This is opposite as the fair acceptance, in which you apply to the first school that you like, you get tentatively accepted, but those who were rejected from another schools will actually apply to the second best school, which might be the one that you are tentatively allocated. If they have higher priority than you do have, then you will be removed and they will take the position. So the fair acceptance mechanism is known to provide stable allocations. Immediate acceptance mechanism is actually none providing stable allocation. Okay, they will provide an efficient allocation if everybody actually tells the truth. Okay. Pardon me? In France, they do immediate acceptance.
You apply before even the child was born, and it's kind of maybe there is a way to
No,
do it,
actually, in France, they do college proposing DA. That's what they do.
Oh, college proposing DA.
Yes.
And why college proposing and not student proposing?
Because if they did student proposing, a student would be accepted tentatively somewhere and then potentially be rejected later, which is not really optimal. You know, you want students to, once they are accepted somewhere, to know that they will not lose the slot.
Because they don't do it centralized.
They do it centralized, but they don't ask the students for their preferences. So they
Yeah.
ask colleges for the preferences, then the student will receive offers from colleges, and at this point, you will have to choose between the...
Yeah, you just apply and you
So
choose.
basically, they do college proposing DA, but instead of doing it just in 1 second by asking everyone their preferences beforehand, they don't
Yeah.
ask students for preferences, and then they run the algorithm slowly, let's say.
Yeah.
Very
But the admission,
Daycare or you go school?
No, about college admission.
No, I'm saying the daycare.
Oh, but
You
you.
didn't have kids. I had kids. That's because you daycare.
Okay, sorry, I said one.
No, daycare. In France,
there is a limit between. I mean, if you have a kid, you have suffered this procedure, and then it goes with you like forever. I mean, this is really painful. Because you have to be strategic with immediate acceptance, and you need to figure it out where your kid will be admitted, and it's actually very painful.
It's important to register as a voter.
As a voter,
As a voter,
yeah.
you know, and write to the mayor and
Yeah.
some lobbying.
In Madrid, the dynamic is very specific. So you register, you can, and actually you register way before the kid is born. And then there is a problem because at a given deadline, the kid has to be born, and then the allocation is done. But if you are registered, you are pregnant, and your kid is not born, then you lose the possibility to be allocated, but you have the possibility to be waitlisted. And to be waitlisted is important because there will come vacancies. And there will come vacancies because some people, they just don't want to be there. They want to be there next period, and they lag behind for a while. There are conditions under which you have to attend once the kid is born and have 4 months and so on and so forth. If you do not fulfill those conditions, you will be expelled out. Some parents, they just decline, okay? So there will be openings, okay? And then you have to be there. We're going to see some of that on the data. Questions on the mechanism? Great. So that structure is kind of odd, and I will elaborate on that later. And once admitted, the kid has, as in every school choice model, the possibility to remain on school. And that we try different domain restrictions, that the one that I'm going to show you there. But parents really want their kids to have the possibility to remain in school. So to change school is traumatic, okay? So if you are admitted, you can stay there for the 3 years. You have the possibility to go, of course, and there will be allocation every period. You will always remain with the possibility to stay in your school, but you can change school if you want to. And we are going to, and that's about it. So, distortions under the current mechanism. It is a mess. So families can strategically apply for daycare centers and nursery school. The strategic behavior in the current mechanism is not only on the preference. You have to target the school that you are most likely to be admitted because it's immediate acceptance, but it's also temporally. You need to apply earlier because then you will have 2 possibilities to be allocated this year and the next year. You will have most likely than not random priorities because there's a random tiebreaker, and then you have the chance to be admitted. And we claim, and hopefully I will show you, that history-dependent priorities, so the fact that if you get admitted this year, you will be here, you will be at school next year as well, that will actually intensify congestion. And that's our claim. And this is anecdotal information. So if you want your child, there's confidential.com, which is an internet magazine. If you want your child to enter a public daycare, that you like try to sign up before she's born. So this strategy is well known. And not only that, this is in Spanish, but essentially say that 78% of the kids in a particular neighborhood in Madrid, they're just not admitted on daycare, and thousands of kids actually do not get attended in public schools. So there is congestion, there is strategic positions, that there is a mess there is problematic. On that, we want to build a model. But this is kind of very little, because this is anecdotal evidence that the things that I'm claiming that happens, and if you have kids, you most likely than not agree with me. But those of you who do not have kids have every right to be doubtful, happens. So what we did is that we actually ran a survey. Yeah.
But is it the problem that you cannot be admitted for good schools, or there is just not enough places?
There are just not enough places.
So it's not the problem of choice, it's really a problem
There's a problem of capacity, and there is a second problem. So
May I ask you then, I mean, what's the problem? I mean, everyone will then sign up 1 year before. Is it problem of people not being rational?
yeah, but everybody wants to sign up 1 year before. Most people will actually sign up 1 year before. But the problem is that even the people, there are two kinds of people. The people who need a slot for the kid this year because they have to work, because their paternity leave and maternity leave is an option that they have, but it's not mandatory. And therefore, they might not take it. And then they need to take the kids to daycare. And some others, they actually enjoy the maternity leave and the paternity leave, which are separated and progress a long time. They cannot be taken together, so they have 8 months. They have family help. They have perhaps some people who help them at home. And those individuals, they will like the kids to go to school, but they prefer to do it on the second year when they are a little bit older. Because, you know, a toddler is just too young. So they don't really want those positions. They want this position, and they really want it for the second year, when they will go back to work.
But then maybe, let me push it, sorry, against it. Now this is costly for me to think about ahead of time and really put in a line in order my kid being admitted not this year but next year. But only those parents who really need it will do that, and those who don't need it will not do it.
But it's not costly for you. I mean, you apply online, and that's...
I mean, mentally it's costly thinking ahead of time. So in the sense, maybe it will sort out on the...
I mean, in the survey that we run, I'm going to show you a little bit about the survey, just a little bit. We actually have a box for people expressing themselves, and they have parents that they just did what I told you. I mean, I just want a slot, and I went for it. And it is cheap. And they have parents that they really need the slot. And both of them are in our sample. I mean, they are these two kind of people.
But I think this problem will be even without the problem of signing up before, right? So in general,
No,
in the population, you have parents who really need it,
Yeah.
and the parents who can skip.
I agree.
So that's why,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not...
I mean, the signing up before is not an issue. I mean, it's not the issue. I mean, some people will sign up, some people will not sign up. Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine you want really next year, but you apply.
Yeah.
You should be sure that you will not be taking this time, because
No, you will...
imagine they give you the slot.
They give you the slot, so you will either attend. You don't want to be there, but you will attend. So the parents that are in paternity and maternity leave, they will take the kids the smaller amount of hours that is allowed, the very minimum. And also we have anecdotal evidence of parents who have been kicked out because they are not attending enough. But what they will do is that they will just take the slot.
They take it, and
They take it. They prefer not to be there, but they take it anyway. Okay? So our point of view is that
if they don't take it, then next year they will lose the slot again.
exactly. If they are kicked out or they don't take it, they renounce to it, then the next year they will go again and they might be allocated or not. That's the whole point. Okay? So that's the problem that we have, and that's what we want to prevent with our mechanism. Questions? Are we all on the same page? So we are going to build a mechanism that actually will solve this problem. So let me show you the evidence that we do have. We run a survey. We have like 1,124 observations. Actually, we have 1,169 observations, but we dropped some because they were a little bit inconsistent. So we have like 700 of people who apply to public schools, 84 people who apply to private school, and 340 people who apply both public and private schools. So they need the position, and if they don't get public, they'll go private. And this is the question that we asked them. So look at that.
Sorry, before you go into it, how did you do survey? You just...
We send the survey to parent associations, and we send the survey to private and public schools. We send them a piece of paper to be this PDF, to be allocated in the main board of the schools with a QR. And we encourage the head of the schools to actually tell the parents to answer our survey.
And it's throughout the Madrid
and in the whole Madrid area, both the capital and the province. It was very painful to get this 1,000 answer, if you ask me to. But that's what we did. This was the distribution, okay? So we asked then the year that they were enrolled. So those are the individuals, 50% of the people who are enrolled, okay? This is not the whole population. This is not the people who apply and never got in. This is not. This is the people who apply and actually got in because we run this survey at schools. This is the student who got enrolled in the first year, the student who got enrolled in the second year, and the student who got enrolled in the third year, so from the 2nd to 3 years old. And then this P0, P1, and P2 is when they were planning to attend school. So their wish, when they wanted the kids to attend school. And that means that 43% of the total people that answered this survey, actually they were planning to get to school the first year, and they actually got to school on the first year. So when the kids were from 0 to 1 years old. Okay, so that went well. People were planning to go on the second year, 28%, they actually got it exactly what they wanted. And finally, 7% of people, they want their kids to attend school on the third year of daycare, and they actually got it. So that's kind of okay. However, look at that. 5% of people, they were planning to be enrolled next year, but they actually got the slot on the first year. And they were planning to go on the second year, and they actually got the slot on the third year, on the first year. So those individuals, they thought that daycare will be a good idea for the kids when they were 2 years old, but nevertheless, they apply on the first period, and they actually, 1% of them, they got it. And 5% of them, they wanted to take the kids when they were 2 years old, 1 year old, and they actually got it on the first year. So this is about 8% of people who actually do not want to be there. They want their kids not to be there on the first year. They want the kids to be there on the second or the third year, but nevertheless, they got in on the first year. And look at that. This came with a cost because we have like 10% of people, a little bit more, that actually wanted their kids to go on the first year, but they have no possibility to actually go there. And this is private and public. So we are kind of low in estimating the amount. So those individuals are the ones that are messing with us, this 8% of people, okay?
But how the question was exactly formulated? Can you tell?
Yeah. We asked them for the year that they want to enroll the kids, no, pardon me, the year in which the kids were enrolled, and the year in which they were planning to enroll the kids.
Can they enroll in multiple daycare?
No. I mean,
Can they apply to multiple?
they can apply to multiple daycare, that's right.
Is answer be related to one of the daycares, but actually
This is the daycare that they were admitted to, yeah. I mean, usually they do not move to one daycare to another, but that's a possibility, I agree with you.
Can they be, I mean, I'm asking if at this daycare they are admitted, maybe they apply to others, but if they admitted here, they will not admit it somewhere else.
But usually what you decide is when you want a kid to go to daycare, and then you find a daycare, either public or private. So our point is that this 43% is overestimated because it includes people on private daycare. So that's the thing.
And do you have any characteristics of survey in terms of, I don't know, income?
We have follow-up data. I'm going to show you at the very end.
Or districts in Madrid which is rich or not?
We have that data. I'm going to show you later. So if you agree with me that the problem actually exists and that those individuals will be better off if they were not here, but if they have the possibility to actually apply for the second period and go on the second period, even though they apply on the first period, if you agree with me on that, then we are on the same page. If you do not agree, and what we are going to do is that we are going to provide a mechanism that actually solves that problem. If you do not agree with me on that, then we stay in this slide like forever. So you guys agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But honestly, for me, still this 1 and 5% seems small. I thought there was, I don't want to say, that's a real problem, I agree, but
This is 8%. So 8% of 100,000 is 8,000.
What, 8, 6, 7%, right?
Yeah, there is also the 1.69.
Yeah, the 1.6
They were planning to do
plus 1.6. So that happened on those guys who want to go when they are 2 years old. They are actually admitted on the period 0. So it's
7, but there is also 169 in the other one, right? So yes, this is very.
yeah. So I mean, I'm not claiming that it's huge, but I'm claiming that it exists. It exists.
It's huge because
I mean, it's 8,000 people.
for the first cohort, it's almost 20%.
Yeah, and you will,
kids that
yeah.
don't want to play.
And you will see that it's not evenly distributed. I mean, it in some regions it's more pervasive than others, and we don't have fully analyzed the data so far. We're still working on that, try to improve our results, but I'm going to show you that these things will go. You know, it is a problem. Yeah. Yeah, and there is some wording there. The actual wording in Spanish was when were you planning to take your kids to school? Yeah, it can be about expectation as well. And actually you're registering your kids, so that means that is like an ideal thing because you actually did it on the first year. No, I agree with you. I mean, wording is difficult to avoid. I'll have another question later that will be a little bit more clarifying, and I'm reserved it for the very end. So if you hold for 15 minutes, I'm going to be back to that, okay? But, you know, something's going on there. So what are we going to do? Well, we are going to build a mechanism that is going to be stable and strategy proof, which is, yeah?
Do you have any information about this 116 and 587?
Yeah.
Whether they really dropped? So they do, but they were kicked out of the school?
No, we have anecdotal information of people who actually applied early, got on waiting lists, and actually got admitted because they were vacant positions as the year progressed. We don't have any evidence that they dropped. But actually, the problem is not whether they drop. The problem is that they were there, and they prefer not to be there. You know what I mean? I mean, they are using a slot that they don't want. So, I mean, if we take them, well, you know what, you can come on the second year. You don't have to be here on the first year. They will be happy. That's our congestion. So, mechanism, stable and strategy proof, but we are going to do that not in the general domain. We are going to do that in a very specific domain that I'm going to describe. And this is going to be a domain where we will distinguish between the slot this period and the priority next period, and it will be a domain in which we will have particular preference and priorities of the school. So let me, and then we're going to pick a mechanism that we will do just that. So this is our model. So at this point, in many of my talks, I just say, well, you know, everything is as it should be because it's like in every other model. And if it's not like that, it is a typo. But in this case, it's a little bit more complicated because we have a set of agents, students, and schools. But what we are going to do is that we are going to get preference for each one of the students, for each one of the families, for both periods, for whether or not I want to be allocated this period and for the order in which I like the schools. Also, we will not allow to have a different order of preference for this period and for the next period. We will assume that you have an idea on how you like schools, and you have a priority order, and this priority order will remain in time, okay? So essentially, you will have preference over school this period and this period, but in truth, what you will have are these two particular reasonable preferences that are the one that the individuals will have. So the individuals will either be postponed, will be individuals that will decide not to come in the first period, not to go to school on the first period, and in the second period, they will have an order on the preference, or will be students that will be remain, and those will be students that will have preference for the first period and for the second period. So they're going to be here this year, and they're going to be here next year, and the preference that they will have for both periods will be the same. and that's important. So essentially, we are asking the individuals for their preference and whether or not they want to attend this year to school. And if they don't want to attend this year, we are giving them the priority for the next year. So next year, you will have a slot exactly the same that if you were here before.
So in your model,
Mm-hmm.
it cannot be, imagine there are two schools.
Yeah.
I can, maybe you can put, that's okay for this school, if it is this period. If it is not available, then I prefer any of the schools in the second period.
No, no, this is not allowed.
You want this period first, so it's like kind of lexicography.
It's not
First
really
period, then the school.
Yeah, you have, you decided whether you want to attend this period or not, and then if you attend the period, the order is the same for both periods. This is what we have. I'm going to show you an example later. Also, we are going to extend the priorities of the school. The school will have exactly the same priority. Those will be randomly drawn priorities, most likely than not, on the schools, and they will be the same for the individuals on the first period or on the second period. And this is actually crucial. Otherwise, we know by the matching couple problems, Klaus and Kling, for example, that this thing will not work. So they will have priorities for both periods. This is the choice of the school. The school will choose the quota of individuals that they are admissible, the top quota of the individuals that are admissible on the first and on the second period. We are having an assumption that is implicit that the quota this period, the first period, is at least as, the quota on the second period is at least as big as in the first period. So if anything, you may have more slots next period, but not less. That's somewhat important. Yeah?
But schools can
Sure.
choose the number of slots.
No, the schools have a quota.
They can.
They cannot choose.
Okay, good. No.
No, the schools cannot shoot or manipulate or do anything with quota. There's no quota manipulation here. Then this is the definition of a matching, which is the definition of two-sided matching. The schools have priority over students. It means that they cannot strategically change it. They are just given and they are not.
Where the priority comes from?
The priority comes from a set of characteristics of the individuals and when they are ties a random draw. It is given. It is given, yeah, exactly.
The school preferences are the preferences of the school.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason why you want to be you want to apply this year and the next, because if you tie with everyone else, there will be two random draws, and then you are more likely to get in if you go on the lottery twice than if you go once. Okay, so that's. So this is the definition of a matching, an allocation from students to school. But now you have to be allocated both a slot and a priority if you are one type of the individuals, and only a slot if you are the other type of the individuals. Individual rationality, blocking pairs. If you are blocked either tomorrow or today, then you're blocked. Okay, I'm going to show you with example. And this is the definition of stability. Yeah.
And priorities are strict.
Yeah. Priorities are strict.
In reality, they're
Yeah, but there is a random draw also in reality. You have weak priorities, but then you make it strict. And
what it might influence my submission of preferences. Before I know that there are one.
you submit the preference before, you know, and then you go on the mechanism. Yeah, there's a random draw later.
Force you to choose.
Yeah.
And it's you who do the random.
No, but imagine everyone is indifferent. And now I really want next period. Really want. But I still participate because it's not
Yeah.
that bad to be admitted.
Yeah, I mean,
and just to have a even I don't like, but I still
if you participate in the lottery twice, you are much better off. That's right.
But I also have taken a risk in being enrolled the year I don't want.
Yeah.
And that's what my opinion that they.
Okay, so stability, not blocking pairs, not blocking neither on the first period nor the second period. This is the way we define blocking pair. And then our first result. Given a daycare allocation problem, so a set of students, schools, preference, priorities, and quotas, in the domain of reasonable standard preference, so in the domain when we have students that are remain or postponed, and only in that domain, in particular, not two different schools for the two different periods, there exists an stable matching. And that's a result. How do we obtain that stable matching? Using an algorithm. This algorithm is what we call the adjusted student proposal deferred acceptance. And honestly, we don't call it the Roth and Peterson algorithm because this is not properly matching with couples, but it's very much like the Roth and Peterson algorithm. For those of you who do not know the Roth and Peterson algorithm, it is very straightforward. Imagine that the postponed students, the ones that they want to come next period, are singles. And the individual who wants to be admitted this year and they want to remain are couples. They want 2 slots, okay? So what we do is that we allocate first the single using deferred acceptance. So that mechanism that I told you about before, where you get tentatively allocated, and then you might lose your tentative allocation, but then you will ask again and go forward. So we do that for the singles. And then we run a random draw. It doesn't really matter the order. And then we start including couples, individuals that are remain, that they want to stay the first and the second period, and we do it one by one. We introduce them. It might very well be that the allocation get disadjusted because we are taking the position for one single that was there already, so that singles will actually be readjusted until we have an unstable allocation again, and then we will introduce another remain, and so on and so forth, okay? And once we introduce the last one, this will be it. That allocation will be stable. Actually, not only will be stable, but it will also be strategy proof. So there is no reason within our domain. So there is no reason for the individuals to manipulate it in 2 ways. There is no reason for the individual to actually misrepresent their preference. So I'm going to tell you, they are going to tell us what is the school that they like best, the second that they like the second best, and so on and so forth. And there is no reason for them to actually tell us that they want to be on the first year if they really want to be on the second year, because they will have no advantage on that, okay? And you probably don't believe me at this point, so I'm going to show you an example. This is an example with 6 individuals and 2 schools. The priority of the schools are a little bit colorful. But the individuals, we have 4 remain, students that want to go to school 1 and then they want to go to school 2, no mixing here. And then 2 postpone. So 5 and 6 are students that they want to go only on the second period and they prefer school 2 to school 1 or school 1 to school 2. Okay, so those are the ones. And now we're going to run the algorithm. So bear with me a little bit and let's see how it goes. So first we introduce the singles, we introduce the postponed, and we allocate them to school 1 and school 2. And now we start introducing the couples. So the the postponed people, the people who only want to come next year.
So you prioritize them?
You allocate them first. Actually, it shouldn't be a problem if we introduce them later. But because, you know, this will work and it will not make any fuss, because priorities for the school here are the same that here. So it's here and here mean the second period and the first period for each school. So that will avoid cycles, which is the problem that we usually have with matching with couples, okay? So those cycles will not be present. And also, you can only be kicked out in one way. You can only be kicked out by being blocked on the second period. So there is no possibility that you are not blocked. You are blocked on the second period for some and on the first period for some other. That's not a possibility. So you will not have cycles. So that means maybe means nothing at this point. So let me go. So we introduce I1. And I1 want to go to school 1, and then we allocate it. I1 is a remain. So she has a slot on the first period and on the second period. Yeah. Raw is the order of the participants.
So 5 and 6 first apply, and they got the position the second year.
Exactly.
S12. What is S12 and S22?
Okay, let me go back. S12 is a position in the school 1 on the first period. and this is a position on the school 1 on the second period. And this is the school 2 on the first period and the school 2 on the second period. So 6 and 5 only want to go on the second period, and each one wants to go either to the school 1 or to the school 2, okay? And row is the order in which we admit them. So 2. Oh, pardon me. That's extremely important. This school have 2 slots in both periods. Okay, that's extremely important. Thank you. So 5 and 6, this is the order. They're already team. Fair enough. And now we are going to include the remaining students, the students who want 2 slots, and we are going to introduce them one by one. First 1, then 4, then 3, then 2. And we introduce 1, and things go nicely. Okay? Yeah.
The order is arbitrary, right?
Arbitrary, yeah. It can be any other one, yeah. It doesn't make a difference. Then we are going to introduce the individual 4. Individual 4 happens to prefer school 2, and fair enough. Okay, there's enough room, everybody's acceptable, so that's it. Now we introduce individual 3. And individual 3 becomes problematic.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So can you go slow? So here you introduce only first E1, right? And E1, why here it appeared on the 1 year S1, S1, 2 in 2 positions.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now I introduce 4, and 4 wants school 2. In 2 positions as well, both this year and the priority for the next year. So everything's going smooth, but you know, life. E3 shows up, and E3 actually wants to go to school 2. And if you trust me, let me tell you that E3 has a higher priority than E4 in school 2. So I4 actually gets kicked out. And now we are going to restore the stability. Is I4 the one that will apply before we introduce any more agents to her second best option, which happens to be S1, school 1. She wants 2 positions. Now I4 has higher priority than I6, and you need a slot here. So I6 is actually being kicked out, and this is another problem. So it's I6 the one that needs to find a slot, and therefore I6 has to get a slot in her second best school, which is school 2. We do that, and it turns out that I5 and I6 have higher priority than individual 3. But look at that. There's no room here. We're going to kick out I3, not because there is no room on the first period, but because there is no room on the second period, because the quota is 2. But if she does not have room on the second period, she cannot get what she wants, and therefore she will have to look for it. Okay, so she is kicked out, although there is enough room on the first round. So we do that. It's now I1, the ones who gets kicked out. She goes to her second best. She is not acceptable either. So now we know that I1 will not have a slot. Regardless of the other entrance, I1 will not be able to be allocated. Furthermore, there is nothing that we can do on the order that would make I1 allocated. It's a matter of priorities. The other individuals have higher priority than she has. So once we have solved this problem, I2 has to enter. It remains there. We do that. I2 enters. She cannot get a position in her first choice because has lower priority than the other 2. So she moved to her second choice. There she kicked out I5. And then we know that I5 will actually not get a position as well. So this is the final allocation. Yeah.
How do you know that I5 will not get a position? Because so far it has not applied to school 1.
I5...
He needs to apply to school 1 to know whether he gets a slot there or not.
Okay, you are absolutely right. And I5 have lower priority, has never applied. Yeah, has lower priority than I3 and I4 in school 1, and I just did not go far ahead enough. I can show you, but
No, I mean, I agree with
yeah.
you, but
No. You are absolutely right. I mean, there's one step that I'm missing there. Yeah. And this is the final allocation. So how do you like? This allocation is stable and it's strategy proof. Individuals have no incentives to actually do better than that. Yeah.
But it's wasteful. Because you have,
No, come on.
you have a threat at the first period in school 2 that is not used. That could be used for I1, for instance.
If we were not in the limit of the time, I will discuss with you a little bit and we'll say, come on, but it's a strategy proof and it's stable and so on. So, I mean, we are theories. Come on. You're absolutely right. And if we propose this solution, which is stable and a strategy proof, don't forget about that. This is precious within the domain. But if we propose this solution, we are remaining with empty positions, and that's problematic. And there is no way around that. If we actually allows I1 to I5 does not want the slot, okay? But if we allow I1s to be here just for one period, it has to remain, or we have to take it out. So this is equally bad, and it's not in our domain of preference. But also, we are doing something even worse. We are generating incentives to I5 to misrepresent herself as a remain student, because then she will have the position in the second period. And we know that those are not the preference, because we are in the domain, but we know also that this is what's going on. So this is problematic. So what do we do? Cross the fingers and pray, I guess. So the adjusted student proposal deferred acceptance is very good, but it is wasteful. And if we do anything to actually prevent that, that will be at the cost of either stability or strategic improvement, or both. So let's look at 4 simulations. And let's see whether there is something on the environment that can actually prevent us from such a bad result. Because theory can only get us that far, okay? So we're going to run a simulation. We're going to have, this is a very toy simulation. We're going to have 10 schools. We're going to have a capacity per period of 20 slots. We are going to have, in period 1, we're going to have 20 slots. In period 2, we're going to simulate either 20 or 40 or 60 slots. That's, then we will have 2 types of individuals. So the number of individuals will be increasing. And we will have 2 types of students, postpone and remain. And the postpone portion, depending on the simulations, will be either 30% or 60%. So 30% in particular is a number that is going to be important for us, okay? So this is the simulation. Yeah. In short, it cannot be worse. I can almost cry. Let me walk you through what this simulation means. So we have immediate acceptance and a student proposal deferred acceptance. We have 30% of postponed individuals applied on the first period. So this is the ratio of postponed students who happens to decide that they are going to participate in the mechanism this period, although they want it on the next period, okay? So what it means for the red, for the blue and the red line, is that 30% of the slot are occupied for people that they don't want to be there. And the remaining 70% is occupied by people that they do want to be there. For our algorithm, it's even worse. They adjusted the student proposal deferred acceptance, allow the postponed individuals to declare that they are postponed, and then what happens is that those individuals are actually declaring that they will come next year, but they are blocking the slots on the first period, and the same way that they block on the example. Okay, so for the adjusted student proposal deferred acceptance, for the green line, what it means is that 30% of those slots are wasted in a different way. They are empty. Okay, and that's equally problematic. Yeah. 30% of individuals are postponed, are individuals that they prefer to go on the second period. In fact, they are the 30% that... Exactly. They prefer to be on the second period, but are the share of those who prefer to be on the second period that they will apply this period. Because they prefer to do that in order to secure the allocation on the second period.
So there is something in terms of priority?
There is something in terms of preference that are not in our domain.
So, sorry, in terms of priorities of, so why I want to apply today, not to be on the waiting
If you submit them to the adjusted student proposed deferred acceptance, those individuals will have the possibility to declare that they want to come next year.
Yes.
If you submit them to the current mechanism, they do not have this possibility.
How they apply today.
So this is the share
They apply
that they decide to apply today, although they don't want to attend today.
and 30% of them will be accepted.
Yeah, because you know, you will have a random tiebreaker. You assume that all are identical. You will have a random tiebreaker, and 30% will be chosen, both in immediate acceptance and student proposal deferred acceptance. This is not a matter of whether you use DA or IA. This is a matter of those mechanisms will actually do.
DA, you allow only this year preferences. You don't allow.
Yeah, that's right, and AA. In ASPDA, in our algorithm, you allow double, and then you don't have them here, but you do have them empty. So it will be better if those lines will actually go to 0. And the lower those lines are, the better it is. But so far, in our simulation, there is no hope. It is the same situation that in our algorithm. Pardon me? Yeah, I mean, yeah, at least the people that don't want to be there, they are not there. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure that you go to the public servants that they are allocating this thing and you offer them that your improvement is to actually let the positions empty. It's actually going to work for you because, I mean, they can kill you in the open space. Yeah.
Do some people want the slot for the first year but not the second?
No. But you know, in our domain, this is not admitted, but this is a possibility that you do have. Because in the second period, we do it period by period, and we only care about the next period. But in the second period, there will be an allocation procedure again. And even if you prefer, for example, a different school, you are very welcome to apply to a different school on the second period. You might get it or not, and you will still have the possibility to fall down to the one that you got in the first period. So
Maybe there is the improvement.
well, let's see. I mean, we are not completely desperate.
Question?
Sure.
Question? The other algorithms, you don't take into account strategic. You run the algorithm without taking into account strategic behavior.
Well, for student proposed deferred acceptance and for adjusted student proposed deferred acceptance, we have a strategy proofness. For adjusted student proposed deferred acceptance, both when you apply and the order of school. For student proposal, it's the strategy is on the preference, so it's a strategy proof as well. For immediate acceptance, they target the schools, but that does not affect the fact that 30% of those people will be successful. So strategic behavior does not help. Okay, but there is something that might help us out. And this something is the fact that the number of positions is not the same on the first period and on the second period. So for the first year, many parents don't want their kids to be there. Some of them, they really want it, and far more than the available positions. But what we know is that in the second period, even if the school have only one group, on the first period there will be 8 students, and on the second period there will be at least 14 students. So the number of positions on the second period will be higher than the number of positions on the first. Overall, the number of positions, because the demand is huge, so this is the positions that are allocated, available. So in the first period, you have like 30%, 15% of the total population, and on the second period, you have almost half. In fact, in the data that I gave you at the beginning, 58%. So you have more positions on the second period than on the first period. So is that enough? Can that actually solve our problems? And look at that. It actually solved our problems. Because if you do have a 30% of people who want to postpone, who want to come on the next period, the mechanism, the immediate acceptance and student proposed deferred acceptance will actually allocate them randomly. They will not be able to express their preference. But if you allow the possibility to self-select them, they will do that. They will get positions, a proportion of them, because it will be a random draw anyway, on the second period, but still there will be enough slots on the first period to be allocated for students who apply only on the first period because they are less first period slots. So this competition really do not happen. If we double the slots on the second period, and we know that we have 3 times more, but if we only double the slots on the second period, the problem gets solved. Actually, there is a ratio. If the ratio... Pardon me? Yeah, you have 20 slots on the first period and 40 slots on the second period. Eh? In the other one, you have 20-20. So you have the same number of slots. So when you have more slots on the second period than on the first period, this actually works. So what will happen now? What it will happen now that it might very well be, if you have 2060 and you have a high ratio, there is some variability. So there is variance here. The variance is computed, but it's very few. If you have more, one thing that can happen is that all students can actually go on the first period. They have decided, well, you know what? I mean, everybody will go on the first period because now they can express the preference to the second period. So we can run a simulation in which we will have a fixed number of students. So they will have 300 remaining students. And to the remaining 1,000 students, so to the remaining total amount of students, 3 times, 2.5 times more, will actually come and crowd out. Is there a possibility that the remaining students will be crowded out? And the answer is yes, there is that possibility. But even if we really congest our market, the distortion that this congestion would generate on our mechanism, the green one, will be less than the distortion that we will get if we use student proposing deferred acceptance, admitting that everybody wants to come on the first period, which is not evidence that we have this thing. And look at that. If we do that with deferred acceptance and immediate acceptance, once we have 70% of students that are here not willingly, the distortion will be much higher. So our mechanism is really robust to this distortion, to this possibility of being crowded out by individuals.
And what is this 70%?
Yeah, what we do is that this is the congestion level. So we start having only 300 remaining individuals who want both periods. And then we start introducing 70 times 70 individuals who wants to be on the second period to see whether the individual, exactly, whether the individual who want to be on the second period actually are able to crowd out to prevent the individuals on the first period to get the slot.
So on the 10th,
Yeah, when we,
700 individuals.
and 300 of the others, for a total of 1,000. Yeah.
Could you remind me what is the quantity on the vertical axis?
Yeah, this is either the rate of individuals who get admitted and that they do not want to be there,
This is for immediate acceptance?
for immediate acceptance or DA acceptance, or the share of individuals that are of of empty positions on the first period for adjusted student proposing. So it is a proportion either ways, but it's a proportion that means different. This is empty slots. This is postponed individuals. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? So I want to convince you that this whole mechanism is robust. I want to convince you that this mechanism can actually improve.
Then you have kind of 1 hour is over, but you have some time.
Yeah, actually, well, 1 hour is, yeah. I have 5 minutes, maybe 10, that will be great. So what do we want now? If I have managed to convince you that we can actually solve this problem, I would really like to know who are those people and why they are doing what they do, okay? And actually the data that we have help us to do that. In particular, I've been presenting this 30% of individuals who wanted to apply early. So now I really want to know who are those early applicants, those individuals who apply early. And actually we asked them. So we asked them whether they apply, for those individuals who said that they apply early, so a total of 30%, we asked them when do they apply earlier. And we have very different individuals. So we have like a bunch of people, 21% out of the total 30% that they told us that they have applied earlier, that they were expecting, that they apply 6 months earlier. We claim that those individuals are actually not our problem. And let me tell you why. Those individuals are actually just applying earlier, before the kid is born, because they want a slot on the first period, and or if the kid will not be born, they want the priority. So this is not our problem. We claim this is not our problem. Then we have those who apply 1 year or more than 1 year before they expected. So those that apply more than 1 year before they expected, they claim to, we're planning to be on the first period points not even 1%, on the second period not even 2%, and on the third period not even 44%. But they actually apply very early. Look at that. 1 year more than 1 year before are actually the 7% of people who got in our data as admitted beforehand. So those are like regular early admission. Those are like the people who are causing troubles, and actually we can give them opportunities. So we want to see what variables have this thing correlated with. And we are not very very advanced at this analysis, but advanced enough because we can see that lots of these people are actually planning to be on the first period. They want their kids to be admitted on the first period, and many of them want. And many of those, they want to be admitted on the second and on the third period. It's actually negative. So if you want your kids to be admitted on the second period, most likely, you are less likely to actually, the correlation with this early admission is actually negative. So that's cool. Also, if you have siblings enrolled, the correlation with this early admission is positive. And if you apply only to public school, this is also positive. Those are correlations. We have run regression. This is OLS, linear regressions. We run linear regressions, not probits. So this is what an econometrician will call a linear utility model. So probabilities are not between 0 and 1. The coefficients are pretty much the same, but the interpretation is far simpler. So let me show you about the interpretation. Once we have as a dependent variable the 29% of individuals who claim that they have been early enrollers, so they apply earlier, we see that most of them wanted to get their kids on school on the first period. And if you want your kid to be on the school in the first period, you are 11% more likely to actually apply earlier. The household income is significant at 10%. You are most likely to apply. You are most likely to apply if you if you only want public schools, and that's for people who apply in general. But if we go to those who apply either 1 year or more than 1 year old, you'll see that those are individuals who have planned to go on the third period. We don't have here the second period because we need to drop 1. So this is with reference to the second period. So they are more likely to go on to apply it early if they want to go to the second period. Those are families that have the higher the family income, the more likely it is, and they apply less if they are in Madrid. So the congestion is more on the neighborhood cities to Madrid than in the capital. So this is the information that we have about the parents. It turns out that the individuals who apply really, really early, the ones that are here and here, are the wealthier parents, and that somehow, and they do not live in Madrid. So this is an example just to show that if we actually allow individuals to apply for both periods, we will have non-existence of stable allocations. If you believe me, this is an example of the inexistence of stable allocations. And those are my conclusions. Families tend to apply it earlier. We provide a mechanism that gives them the right incentives in the framework that we are. That cannot be standard. It is not a maximal domain, so it's not that there are not other domains where their stability is guaranteed. It's that we cannot stand the one that we have. Our algorithms solve the problem, and we claim that it can be applied to other allocation problems where we have this time dependency that we have of the likes of the one that we have shown. And that's essentially it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.